Good afternoon, students. Today we are going to talk about the evolution of advertising. Let us begin with what is advertising and what are its different types. Advertising is any paid form of non-personal presentation and promotion of ideas, goods, and services by an identified sponsor. In easier words, this would mean that a particular brand pays the media to run any ad for them. Now, this ad could be one of a product, it could be of a service, or it could be of an idea. When we say idea, we are generally referring to social ads. There are different forms of advertising. The first being broadcast ads, which include television and radio ads. You have print ads, which include magazine, newspaper, and other such print material ads. There is outdoor ads, which include hoardings, billboards, bus shelters, and many more. And you have new media or internet ads, the ones we see on Facebook, YouTube, and different websites. However, advertising as we know it started about 5,000 years ago, and that too without the help of technology. Let us understand how. Trademarks. A trademark is any visible sign or device used by a business enterprise to identify its goods or to distinguish them from others. And trademarks, when it comes to advertising, is as old as civilization itself. In fact, studies have shown that wanting to advertise has been part of human nature since ancient times. Like modern day advertisers, people in the past also believed that advertising is an investment. If we take a careful look at this pot, at the right hand side of the picture, we will see that there is a mark made. Okay, so what craftsmen in early times did is they created a symbol for their particular brand or their particular business, and they marked every item they created with this symbol. And obviously, like we know, word of mouth is the best form of advertising. So if in the past I bought a pot from the potter and it lasted me really long, and then my sister, because she liked the quality, she wanted to buy it too. Looking at that trademark, I would be able to direct her to that particular trader, thereby increasing his business. The trademarks of the past may be equated with brand logos today. So the trademarks that were there on goods in the past, today products have them in the form of brand logos. Signs. This was another form of advertising, and what used to happen was traders, they painted prominent rocks every time they traveled on a particular trade route. They painted rocks with everything that they sold. In fact, archaeologists have discovered excavations at Pompeii where small shops had inscriptions on walls. So they were like markings on walls. And these markings informed buyers whether that shop sold milk or bread or wine or pots or any other goods. The walls of Pompeii also had messages, and these messages could be considered as the oldest form of outdoor advertising. So the outdoor advertising we have today, when we're passing highways, we see billboards, we see messages, ads. That same way of advertising was adopted by our ancient civilization, except that they did not use technology. All they did was they wrote messages on walls, and this was considered outdoor advertising. In fact, a lot of campaign slogans for politicians were also displayed on, and all of these were written in Latin. Another ancient form of advertising were town criers. Town criers, they looked like jesters, jokers. So they were very fancily dressed and they had musical instruments in their hands. And they were paid to go around streets and spread the news and make announcements regarding a product or service. So what they would do is, suppose they were selling honey. or cheese, they would take a little samples of it and go around the village place, the marketplace, where they have a lot of gathering, and then they would make a noise, sing a song, gather crowd around them, and they would announce to people that this is a new shop opened, or this is a new product being sold, and they would just give them sample pieces, very much like what you see in malls today, like mall promotions. And this practice was rampant in ancient Athens and Rome. In fact, till the 1950s, town criers were even used in rural India to inform people about public matters. So the first ad on paper hails from Thebes in Egypt around the 3000 BC. And it has a very interesting story to it, because this ad was written by a fabric seller. He owned a fabric store, and one of his slaves, one of his workers called Shem, who worked with him, robbed the fabric seller and ran away. So the fabric seller wrote an ad and offered a reward to anyone who brought Shem back. Like they say, necessity is the mother of invention. Then we move on to print ads. Thanks to William Caxton's invention of the first printing press, which was in the year 1476, the first printed ad was published in the year 1477. This ad was in the form of a handbill for a religious book. So this ad can be equated to today, you see flyers and brochures, and many a times in newspapers you have leaflets. So this ad, this printed ad, the first printed ad in the form of a handbill, may be equated to what we see today. The first newspaper ad was printed in the year 1704 in the Boston Newsletter, which is a US-based newspaper. The ad was for a sale of a real estate property in Oyster Bay, Long Island. As we see, the ad has no illustration on it. There are no images or pictures. There's only text. In fact, this is how early print ads looked. There were no designers. It was just the content, the necessary information given to the printers by the sellers, and the ad was printed. It looked more like a piece of news. Then we move on to magazine ads. In fact, magazine ads started pretty much early on. The first magazine ad was printed in the year 1622, and it was printed in a weekly magazine called News Relations. But magazine ads, however, gained popularity only after the 1870s. The picture you can see here is the first magazine ad by Ben Franklin in the General magazine in 1741. Television ads. The world's first TV ad was broadcasted on July 1st, 1941 on WNBC, that is a US-based channel, for a Bulova watch company. The ad, as compared to today's 30-second long ads, most ads today are 30 seconds, that ad was only a 10-second long ad. It was nothing. It was just an image of the Bulova watch and a voiceover, just 10 seconds. Television then saw a rapid growth by the 1950s, and within a decade captured audiences in Europe, Canada, Australia, East European countries. A lot of these were the first world countries. They had a lot of money, and very often, most of these audiences in these countries rapidly took to television as a medium of entertainment, and therefore a lot of television ads also increased at that point of time. Even today, television is considered as one of the most powerful mediums of advertising. That is because of its audio-visual effect. Radio ads. The growth of radio advertising happened very quickly in the 19th and the 20th centuries. Radio ads first started airing in the US in the 1920s. And in the year 1922, the BBC, British Broadcasting Company, was also set up. The first paid ad was aired on 28th August 1922 on the AT&T owned New York station, WEAF. This ad was for the sale of an apartment in Jackson Heights. India, on the other hand, had its first commercial radio rather late in the year 1967 under the name of Vivid Bharati, which is a part of AIR, that is All India Radio. Vivid Bharati started airing commercials after the recommendation of the Chanda Committee report. Initially, it would only give news items, but after a while, it started having shows, film music shows, and also started airing commercials, paid commercials. This was because they wanted to increase their network as well as the revenue generated. Ad agencies played a very integral role, and they still do, in the field of advertising. The first agencies date back to as far as 1786, when William Taylor, a very famous advertiser back in the day, opened his office in London. Then we had Walney B. Palmer, who started the first ad agency in America in the year 1840. He was known as the salesman of space. This is because what he did is he bought large amounts of space in different newspapers at a discounted rate, of course, bulk buying, and then he resold that space at higher rates to different advertisers. The actual ad, including the copy, layout, and artwork, was prepared by the client. None of it was done by Mr. Palmer. Therefore, Palmer just became an ad space broker and had a very little influence on the creative side of the ad. Now, most ad agencies followed this business model until the 19th century, when N.W. Ayer and Son, a New York-based ad agency, said, apart from selling space, how about we provide clients with a full range of services, which would include planning the ad, creating the ad, executing the ad, and running campaigns for its customers. In that way, we can make even more money. And most advertisers, like we know, are creative. So doing all this was a lot of fun. Now, it made itself famous. N.W. Ayer and Son, this agency made itself very famous with its work, and it worked for clients like De Beers, which is a very famous diamond brand, AT&T, as well as the US Army. India, on the other hand, saw the birth of its first ad agency, again pretty late. India's first ad agency was B. Dattram and Company, set up in Mumbai in the year 1905. New media, also known as the Internet or the World Wide Web. Today, Internet advertising as we know it has grown by leaps and bounds, and we see it almost everywhere we access the Internet. If we go on Instagram, we see a sponsored ad. If we go on Facebook, we see a sponsored ad or a sponsored post. Internet advertising has penetrated every area of our life. However, in the year 1994, Internet advertising started very, very small, and it was nothing but a banner on a website. The ad belonged to AT&T and was placed on Wired magazine's hotwired.com. This was part of their larger You Will campaign. The picture you see below is exactly what the banner looked like. The beauty of internet ads is that they reach the right target audience most often as compared to television ads or newspaper ads or an outdoor ad. So with this, we have reached the end of our session on evolution of advertising. I hope all of you have well understood how advertising first began and what are the different stages and phases it went through to come to what it is now. For any further queries, you may write to me at monisha.decosta@pathak.edu.in.